Hi everyone, welcome back to Teach Nation. My name is Gifty. I'm super excited to do this video. I at least say super excited. But I am because today is all about grading. Grading can be so challenging as a teacher when all you want to do is just teach, but then you have a pile of papers that you have to grade. So today I really want to share my 10 grading hacks that I do that works so well and it keeps me on track so I'm able to teach and not stay after school and just grade a pile of work. So let's get started to find out my 10 grading hacks that I believe will help you as much as it's helping me. Let's get started.
Sounds good.
Number one, whatever you do on that day of, if you're doing, let's say, English, RE, French, whatever you're teaching in your classroom, grade it that day. Oh my goodness. In the beginning of my teacher career, I used to do all types of activities with my students and then pile it all up just to grade it on the Friday or Thursday. And it'd be so overwhelming and stressful. Whereas now what I'm doing now is that before I leave school, I grade everything I did that day on my desk before I leave. Or sometimes, for example, if a student is done their work and I don't get time to grade it, I just tell them, please put whatever you're not done, please put what you're done, open it, put it on my desk so I know I need to grade it. So that keeps me on track. I know that I have graded this work, I know I haven't graded that work. It's just whatever you're going to do that day, grade it. It's super easy to do. It keeps you on task of what you're doing and you don't have like a pile of things to grade at the end of the week or the next day. So whatever you're doing on that day, an assignment, English, art, so-and-so, grade it that day, end it, it's done, next. 2, if it happens that you're watching this video and you're like, Gifty, you don't understand. I have so many things to grade because I piled it up from 2 weeks ago. That's fine. What you can do is what I did is that before I started doing grading every single day and just getting rid of the things I've done for that day, what I did was that I took things I had to grade and I piled it up. So I piled up, okay, Monday I'm gonna do this, Tuesday I'm gonna do this. So I set myself targets to grade, and by the time I was done doing all of that, then I started into the habit of grading every single day. So it's not too late to start the grading every single day if that's something you wanna do. Just at this moment, if you are overwhelmed because you have a lot of things to grade, just stack it up by day. What do you want to target for today? What do you want to target for tomorrow? And then finish that all off and then start your new journey of grading for the day that you did the work. I'm telling you, it's going to help you, and it's just going to be, you're going to go home with nothing on your mind to grade because you've already done it and it's done and over with. And what I do too is I don't bring anything to grade at home. I really just do that. I don't bring anything I've done at work home. I really just grade it at school. That's it. That's all. It's done. Whoop. Bye. Out the window you go. Not really out the window, but you know what I mean. It's done. It's great. It's good. They get the concept. So yeah. Tip 3, allow peer grading in your classroom. Your students would love to grade their peers' work. Well, it depends on what student you have. My students love it. So what I do is that it depends what the work is. If let's say if it's math, that's very straightforward and it's just one answer math, there's no need of working out. Say for example, multiplication, it's a multiplication test, or let's say a spelling test. I want my students to peer grade. 1, it helps them to stay focused on the task they're supposed to be doing, which is grading their peers' work. 2, exposes them to want to have a discussion with their peers, like, oh, did you mean this? Did you mean that? Oh, how did you get this number? So I encourage them to conversate while they're grading their peers' work. So not only are they just grading, but they're also getting to understand how their peers think. And then if one of them doesn't understand something, they're able to talk it out and so. And as this is going on, your things are being graded. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4, this is the classic. We have all done this before. It is basically putting the answers on the board and allowing your students to grade as you walk around and make sure they're doing the right thing. It's an easy way for all your students to grade up once, checking what's on the board, the right answer, and then it's done and it's over. Pack up their books, put it away. Let's do English. if they are doing English after that. So that's one way you can grade. I usually do this type of grading for my multiplication tests, spelling tests, like I said before, or for example, if there's an assignment that they were doing individually, and it's very straightforward answers, or let's say a reading comprehension, we go over it together. That's most of the things I would do. But things for essays, that's kind of hard. You have to take it and then see what they're writing about. It's a bit different. So things are very straightforward, short answers. That would be a benefit of grading that way. So yeah. Number 5 is probably my favorite, also my least favorite at the same time, is basically to multitask as your students are doing their independent work. So as they're doing their work, you can be grading at your desk, but the only thing about that is that I personally like to walk around and see what my students are doing, making sure they're okay, and as I'm walking around, they feel my presence and they're most likely going to be on task. So that's a bit of a tricky one. You need to know your students and see if you can do that. If you have a really quiet group and you are able to do that and they're very able to do the work, then that's easy to do. But if you have a students that have a challenging time with the work, let's say for that particular work you have to do, I would not advise this. But it's a way that you can get your own grading done as they're doing their independent work. So it's all up to you how you see that one, but that is definitely a tip that I would advise that you can do if you find it suitable for your students. Number 6 is verbal feedback. I have not done this before, but maybe a couple of times I've done it, but basically it's verbal feedback. So what you do is that, let's say for example, your student has finished an essay. The students can read out their essay to you, and as they're reading and you see there's punctuation situations are going on that's not correct, and so you can verbally speak to your students and say, oh, maybe you should have put a period here. Oh, you're missing a comma here. Ooh, you forgot your capital letter over there. So it's your verbal feedback you're giving to your students or your student is receiving, and then just so you know that you graded it, put a nice V in a circle, and then you know it's graded. And then the student has to take back that verbal feedback that they heard into their paper. Now this one is a bit tricky. Again, it depends on the type of student it is. You can't do that for every student, as we know, but some students it might be beneficial for that. Some students would not really, I guess, see it as beneficial in the sense that they would want to read it and want to know what step by step what you expect from them. So that is, it depends on how you see that one. But that's one way you can grade, which is less writing and a bit less dreadful, but that's one way you can grade with your students as well. Number 7 is use a rubric. There's so many rubrics online that you can download and appreciate in your classroom. It all depends on what assignment you're doing in your class. There's many rubrics like oral presentations, English writing, reading comprehension. There's so many different rubrics that you can use depending on what you are assessing for that task. So rubrics are really cool because they are quick and easy. You can also even do your own rubric depending on what you are trying to assess, what's your objective of the lesson. And they're super easy because basically it's all laid out for you. You just circle or check mark where you feel your student best fits, and then write your little comments, and it's graded and it's done. It's super quick and easy, way more quicker than writing so much. So that's one way you can assess, and that's a grading hack that I've been using mostly for reading. When my students are reading, I am assessing them with a rubric. That's the only thing I'm using rubrics for at this moment, but it is a very cool grading hack if you feel like it is suitable for the assignment that you're doing. Number 8 is probably one of my favorites, is grade with a timer. Teachers love to talk, right? Well, depending on what type of teacher you are, I like to talk. So teachers like to talk, teachers like to put so much effort and energy into their work, but sometimes the assignment that you've given them, they don't need that much feedback. Some of the feedback you can just put is take 2 sentences or maybe a pointer here or there. So I would advise that you can also grade with a timer. Basically, you give a timer each paper that you're grading for, let's say 1 minute or 2 minutes, depending on what you want. And as you're doing that, once 2 minutes or 1 minute's up, put it away, it's done, it's over. next student, because sometimes we can get so into one paper, give so many feedback, and by the time your student gets it, they're probably stressed about, oh my gosh, this is so much, when it gets overwhelming for them. So grading with a timer can be very helpful if you feel you would appreciate it. I know some of us like to pour out our hearts to each student, but if you do that for hours, then you'll be grading for hours, right? So a timer can be very beneficial well for grading. You teach a lesson, before your students go, you give them an exit card, a question, or it could be very open-ended by asking them, name me 2 or 1 things they've learned during this lesson, and they have to write their name on it. So as you get it back, you see what the students learned, what they took from the lesson. Some students might not write anything, so you're like, ooh, I need to, let's say, go over this lesson again with this student, so and so. So it's a quick, easy assessment. This is not really it's a quick, easy assessment that you can do with your students to understand if they've grasped the concept that you taught for the day. Number 10 is probably my favorite, is assessing while I'm walking around my classroom. So for example, if your students are getting into their work, having conversations about their work with their peers, you can go around quietly assessing them in terms of hearing their conversations and what they're saying. As you're doing that, you're understanding which students need help, which students don't. You could jot down little notes of, ooh, actually, this student kind of needs help. That's not the way I taught it, and he understands it totally different. It's kind of wrong. So you jot down their name to make sure that you have time later on to explain them the concept. So it's a quick assessment to see how your students understand the learning that's going on, or the learning objective that you have set for them for that task at that moment. It's very informal, and it's very, you can find really rich information at that moment in compared to just reading their work on paper. So that's one way you can assess very quickly and easily to understand your students' understanding of the work that they're doing. Those are my top 10 grading hacks. I'm really enjoying them a lot. They help so much. They might work for you, may not work, depending on your classroom environment, how things run, but let me know if they do work. I'm really curious to hear your feedbacks. And also, lastly but not least, like and subscribe. And this is gonna be my last one. Please, I'm still taking emails from teachers to add you to my list for my database I'm about to create for teachers. I think it's gonna be something that's gonna help teachers all around the world. So if you're a teacher and you want to be part of this thing I'm creating, please send me your email. You can send it to me through my email that I'm gonna put down below here. Instagram is a place I'm really active on as well, so let me know if you want to be part of it. Send me your email, let's get in touch, and let's continue on this beautiful journey of teaching. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Bye.